It's Backstage Pass with Steve Ryan. And here's your host, Steve Ryan.
You
Wait,
sound great. I haven't seen you.
how do I look?
Yeah, you look great, brother.
Here we go.
Yeah. How are you?
Great, thanks. It's a beautiful day, and I'm happy to say I'm alive. It's
Yeah. I've been trying to set this up. I started talking with Rob at first, and then he passed the torch on to you. And you, I've been doing this podcast probably about a year and a half, almost 2 years now, I guess. And I'm up to about episode 58, 59, something like that.
Mhm.
And you guys were one of the first bands I reached out to because
Yeah.
I just love your stuff.
Oh, well, thank you. I see you've got all of the albums. Are those all vinyls? No.
That's a monitor.
Yeah.
I found a little collage with and it's not my monitor's not nearly wide enough to show them all. So I had to find a good spot somewhere and that's where it ended up.
Nice.
Yeah. Yeah. There's something special about you and Rob and the way you guys sing together, isn't there?
Yeah, there really is. When before the Hooters, we had Baby Grand, and we had a singer in that band, David Kagan, who was a great singer and great lyricist, songwriter. But for whatever reason, it was time to move on, and we first thought about getting a singer, and we weren't finding anybody that really fit the bill. So we kind of like thought, oh, I guess we can sort of try it ourselves. And I think we were hoping that we would be uh, John and Paul, but I think we ended up being more like George and Ringo,
Yeah.
which isn't so bad. But yeah,
No.
we've really, you know, it is a thing that we have our vocal blend although we have very different voices, it's often hard to tell who's who, especially when we're singing
Hmm?
together.
Yeah.
I
I
mean,
agree.
sometimes we'll do harmonies where we cross over, like one of us is singing the high part, and then we switch, and you really can't tell.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that's a gift. I mean, that is like the John Paul George thing,
Yeah.
the Simon Garfunkel thing.
Well, and it must be a special friendship because not many bands, let alone friendships, last as long as you guys have.
Yeah, you know, it's amazing. Like I guess Mick and Keith, but even they weren't speaking for
Yeah.
years, maybe even decades. I don't know what their relationship is like now, but I've heard stories about them being in the studio and like they wouldn't talk directly to the other. Like one would
Yeah.
say to the producer, "Hey, tell Mick or tell Keith that I think."
Yeah. Yeah.
And Rob and I, yeah, we've had our things over the years. Everybody does, but we have had really well, the band took a break for 7, 8 years,
Hmm.
which was unintentional. We meant to take a break for maybe a year, and then it just ended up being, life had other plans for us. But
Yeah.
through that time, there was never any animosity. Um, and maybe I think maybe that having that had that break is what's kept it going.
Yeah.
Um, yeah,
How did you guys meet Rick Chertoff?
shirt off, like shirt
Shirt
off.
off. Yeah.
Yeah.
How did you
Um,
guys meet him?
well, Rob met him first. Rob and Rick are a few years older than me. They'd already had a band called Wax, and
Mm.
I'd seen Wax a couple of times, and they were a good band. And I definitely recognized Rob as being a force to be reckoned with as a musician.
Yeah.
I knew that he was in a class of his own. And then my first week at Penn, I went into a room, a classroom, and it was in the basement of the Annenberg building. I got there first. I was sitting on the floor playing someone's acoustic guitar, and Rob walked in, and I recognized him as the electric piano player from that band. And we started talking, and at the end of the class, we went upstairs to a piano and we jammed for probably 2 hours. And I knew that I had met my match. I had
Wow.
never jammed with someone who could follow me and that was challenging for me to follow.
Wow.
So Wax had undergone some changes. They'd lost their guitarist. At that point, they had two electric pianos, two drummers, a bass player, and a singer, and they needed a guitar player. So
Perfect.
here I was. And that band broke up at the end of my freshman year after, and they had graduated. And at that point, Rick decided that he wasn't a drummer. He wanted to be a producer and an A&R guy, pick
Yeah.
songs for singers to sing. And he pretty quickly got a job working for Clive Davis at his new Arista Records. And early on in his tenure there, he found the song "Mandy" for Barry Manilow,
Manilow. Yeah.
and it was called Brandy at the time,
Right.
and it said no, it should be called Mandy.
Yeah.
And he performed other acts of A&R heroism for Clive Davis. Um,
Wow.
and
Amazing.
so when I was about to graduate, oh, so he went to work as a producer, A&R guy. Rob and David, the singer, kept writing songs, and they had what started out as a duo called Baby Grand. And just when I was getting ready to graduate, and I had no idea what I was going to do with my life, there was nothing you could do with an undergraduate degree in physics. And I wasn't about to go to graduate school in physics because I just wasn't that good. Right around that time, Rick signed them to Arista Records, and again, they needed a guitar player. Here I am.
Yeah.
That's what we did, and that was the connection for Cyndi Lauper and Joan Osborne and Patti Smythe and Mick Jagger. We did a record with Mick Jagger at
Wow.
one point. So yeah,
Wow.
it's been a crazy, long and winding on one hand, but very straight road on another.
Is it you know, Cindy is getting inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame this year.
Yeah,
Is it fair to say, and I don't want to put you on the spot, and you don't have to answer if you don't want to, but is it fair to say that perhaps without you and Rob on She's So Unusual, that might not be happening this year?
definitely,
Yeah.
absolutely, and without Rick Chertoff. I mean, Rick, first, without girls just want to have fun, you wouldn't have gotten time after time.
Yeah.
And without Rick Chertoff, there wouldn't have been girls just want to have fun. And without me and Rob, Rick brought her the song. She hated it.
Time
You know,
after time,
no, no, no. Girls just
girls
want to
just
have
want
fun.
to have fun. Yeah.
She hated it. She thought she heard the way she heard it, and the way it was originally written by Robert Hazard. It was like a new wave punk rock song, sung from a male perspective, and she thought it was demeaning. Um, Knowing Robert, it might have been a little bit, but he's not around, so we can't ask him.
Yeah.
Um, but Rick was very, very adamant that title, that line with her voice was a global hit.
Yeah.
And we tried a bunch of different ways musically to get her invested in it. And we tried, a rock version that wasn't happening. We tried a reggae version, a ska version, and and we'd kind of given up on it, or she had anyway, and Rick had, or so we thought. But one day we came in for our daily session. We were working at our little rehearsal place with my 4-track cassette recorder and drum machine, and um, we came in and we started talking about "Come On, Eileen,"
Yeah.
which is
Dexty's Midnight
which is
Rainers.
1982, and that song was everywhere.
Hmm.
And it is arguably one of the greatest records ever made. It is a perfect everything. And we were talking about how much we loved it. And Rick, genius move, number whatever out of however many more, walks over and says, "Can you make Girls Just Want to Have Fun sound like Come On Eileen?
Wow.
Can you play that like Come On Eileen?" Now, which you would think, now that's ridiculous. But here's what happened. I will show you what happened. In fact, I will pick up the guitar on which it happened.
Wow. What a treat.
I will not plug it into the amplifier because that would take too long. But this is the guitar. It's a 1957 Fender Stratocaster,
Wow.
and I picked up the guitar first. First, I changed the kick drum pattern on the 808 drum machine, which is what I had then. Still have it. It's over there. I'm not going to bring that over. I changed the kick drum. I slowed it down to approximately the same tempo as Come On Eileen, and I changed the kick drum pattern to go boom, ba-da, boom, boom, da, boom, ba-da, boom, boom. Now, Come On Eileen is just boom, ba-da, boom, ba-da, boom,
Right.
ba-da, but it was a modified version of that. And I picked up this guitar and I played, and so on and so forth, and said, "Why don't you try singing it to this?" And Rob started playing the upbeats on his organ, and by the end of the day, she was saying, "I always loved that song. That song is so empowering to women." But no, I mean, and I think sure Cyndi would agree. If it hadn't been for Rick's tenacity and Come On Eileen and the
Yeah.
way I play guitar and the way Rob plays keyboards, we wouldn't be
Yeah.
having this conversation.
Yeah, for sure. I agree.
But if it weren't for Cindy's one of a kind voice and personality and drive, you know, you got to give credit where credit's due. She's Cyndi. There's only one Cyndi in the world.
Yeah. Well, maybe it was just kind of the perfect storm of all those things together.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Well,
And I
you
think
guys
we're going to
play a
talk about a very similar perfect storm later on in this conversation, but I'll let that go.
okay. I'll be ready for it. You guys played on All Through the Night, right?
Yeah,
That's my favorite song on that album.
yeah. I really wanted to sing that harmony with her,
Yeah.
but they had Jules in that. I did sing the harmony on "Money Changes Everything,"
Which is a great tune too.
and I
Yeah.
played the melodica on that, the Hooter.
I know. And then Nervous Night comes out, platinum record. And
Double by the end.
well, and you know what? The first song I ever heard by you guys was All You Zombies, which wasn't a huge hit, but man, when I heard that song in the intro, it just kind of grabbed me and I couldn't stop. I mean, it was just like pulling me in and pulling me in. And I had really never heard anything really quite like that.
Nobody had.
Yeah.
No one still has. That is we're very proud of that one. That's a very unique thing, and that song really has had a life of its own. That's the first song that we wrote for the Hooters. That is the
Yeah.
oldest surviving Hooters song. We wrote that in January of 1980.
Wow.
And not a
It,
word or note of that has changed.
man, I love that song.
I think,
Yeah.
All You Zombies is pretty much, it's pretty, people pretty much agree that it's just, about apathy and, wake up everybody,
Yeah.
hello.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. Um, and then Day by Day is on there. Man, that's a great tune. And it's got that happy upbeat feel to it. And there's the mandolin, I think, in there. That's just so, your guys' music, when it was coming out, a lot of the instruments that you used, you didn't really hear on radio that
Oh,
much.
no, you never heard of, well, the only time I'd ever heard a mandolin on the radio was with Seals and Crofts on Summer Breeze, whichever one it was. Seals or Crofts. He played it on an electric mandolin, on a Fender electric
Wow.
mandolin.
And
But
Rod
now
Stewart
mandolin,
had it in
right, Maggie
Maggie
May.
May. Yeah.
That's right. That's right. That was sort of the
Yeah.
Shining Tower iconic example of it. But no, we really made a thing out of it.
For sure. It was a well, that's a lot of times it's like, oh yeah, that's the Hooters. When you hear the music, it's like, oh yeah, that's the Hooters. You know that. And and we danced. It was a big hit. It was all over the radio. I played it on the radio. Is that a coming of age story?
Actually, yeah.
Yeah.
Then it was. It's funny now that we're the age we are. It's it's a total nostalgia, and we danced. It's like there's there's a lot of bittersweet joy in that. I mean,
Yeah.
we'll be singing that when we're 90.
Oh, I can feel her coming from a mile away. There was no use talking, there was nothing to say when the band began to play. And we danced like a wave on the ocean romance. You and I as a love, and we danced. Set the wind for a moment by chance. Yeah, we danced and danced and danced.
And that's okay with you, or yeah?
Well, yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
what's the option?
Yeah.
You know,
Well,
it's
I talk to people sometimes and they're like, yeah, I just don't do that song anymore live. And I'm like, what?
we do we do almost everything live. I mean, there's some songs that have fallen by the wayside, um, but and we really let the audience make our set list just because we know we can tell what the audience is resonating with,
Yeah.
and we
Yeah.
just keep playing those songs. I mean, why wouldn't we I'm so grateful for And We Dance. I'm so grateful for All You Zombies. I'm grateful for Johnny B, which is our big hit in Germany, and that's the song that keeps us going back there every summer.
How much there is to see. Just open your eyes and listen to me. Straight ahead, a green light turns to red. Oh, why can't you see? Oh, Johnny B.
Yeah. Yeah. That was from On Way
On Way-
Home album.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. I didn't want to before we move off of Nervous Night. Where Do the Children Go was on there, and Patty Smythe is on there, and boy, I love her voice so much.
Yep.
How did that come up? How did you get connected with her?
Well, Rick had worked with her,
Ah.
in his capacity as A&R for Columbia Records, which was a sister label to Epic. So he knew her and
Yeah,
asked her,
it
and she
works.
said, "Yeah."
And if there's a heaven, we'll find it somehow. Where do the children go? Between the bright night and darkest day, where do the children go? And who's that red-lead piper who leads them away?
Yeah, wow. Man, the Germans love you guys, don't they?
They do. They do. Go figure.
Because I was looking at the charts and the Europe charts and all that, and where you guys do a lot of stuff, and I don't, I was trying to. You kind of have this, to me, some of your music really kind of has this Irish feel to me, and maybe I'm not pegging it right, but you've got the mandolin, you've got the harmonica, and just the kind of the way you put it together, it is very European, I guess.
Yeah, certainly, and yeah, it is, and American, because American is basically an amalgamation of all the different European
Yeah.
ethnicities that came in. I meant to send you our new single before we had this conversation, and I should have. You probably haven't heard it.
No.
Well, honestly, you should listen to it before we finish the conversation.
Okay.
So, do you have Spotify?
Yeah.
Okay, pull it up. You can pull it up while we're on, or we can
I'll do it right now.
do it right now. Yeah, this is fun. Live listening. It's called Pendulum.
Just search the Hooters.
Search the Hooters. Yep, and you'll see latest release. It came out Friday.
Pendulum. Yeah.
Yep.
I don't know if you'll be able to hear it, but I'm pushing
Okay,
play right now.
that's fine. I can entertain myself.
The pendulum swings for me and for you. The left and the right, the red and the blue. So here's to my friends and my enemies too. The pendulum swings for me and for you.
Wow. That sounds like an Irish ditty right there.
That's what made me think of it.
Yeah.
I
Man, I
meant to
love
send
that.
you that before we had our conversation, but
Man, I love that.
I
Yeah.
know 30 years ago we could have had a hit with it.
Wow. Hey, I had read that we were kind of you were speaking of the Beatles earlier. You met Paul McCartney and George Harrison, haven't you?
And Ringo.
And yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. How was that?
Amazing. Each one of them they could not have been more gracious and welcoming.
Isn't that great when you meet somebody you admire like that and they don't disappoint you? Like, you know what I mean?
I've been disappointed very few times, but it's a very deflating
Yeah,
thing. But they were each was fantastic.
yeah.
Be standing with Rob waiting for an elevator in a TV studio in London and hearing George Harrison's voice from behind us going, "Hey, aren't you the Hooters? Hi, I'm George. Love your music."
Really?
Yeah.
Whoa. I can't even imagine how that must feel as an artist to have somebody like George Harrison say that and know who you are, let alone, know your music.
Yeah, same thing with Paul. Paul was like, we did a TV show with him in London a few months
Top of the
earlier.
pops.
He was on the same show with us, and I was going to play it cool, but then I decided, all right, I'm going to walk up, so I extend my hand. Hi, Paul. I'm Eric. Oh, from the Hooters. I recognize you from your video. Linda, come meet
Wow.
Eric.
Wow. Mind blowing.
Yeah, that was. And then Ringo was a mutual friend told Ringo that I was in town working with him, and Ringo was like, "Oh, I'd like to meet him." So I got a phone call. Ringo's coming to the studio right now. So
Whoa.
yeah, yeah. I mean,
Wow,
that's
that is unbelievable. I love hearing stories like that. I was talking with Susie Quattro last week,
mhm.
and she was talking about how she got a phone call one time from Elvis's people, and he got on the phone and he said, "Hey, I heard your version of All Shook Up and love it, and I'd love to have you over to Graceland sometime."
Did she ever go?
She didn't go. She said, "This is the funny part. I told him, well, I'm kind of busy right now." And she's like 17, but she said, she said, "I wasn't ready." She said, I didn't feel like I could handle it.
Yeah. Well, then Bob Dylan called me and asked me to join his band in 1990.
And
I already had a band,
wow.
but we had a
Yeah.
couple of nice conversations.
Yeah. That's nice. That's so cool. Um, Karla with a K.
Yeah,
I love that song so much. It's kind of got the Irish folk feel to
very,
that. Yeah.
very.
When I'm here all alone, oh, it blows home. We'll find it someday. There's no reason to cry for days gone by. Oh, Carlo, we can make it if we try.
I rode it actually on a bus trip from New Orleans to San Antonio, and there actually was a Carla with a K. There was a young woman who we met at Pat O'Brien's drinking hurricanes, and she took it upon herself to tour guide us around the French Quarter very late at night. And we ended up having beignets and coffee at Cafe du Monde at like 5 in the morning, and then got on our bus and started driving. And then this little melody, literally, I picked up the mandolin and started playing it, and we came up with the whole sort of arrangement idea. And then somebody said, "Well, what's it called?" And we all just sort of agreed, Carla with a K.
AK. Yeah, I love that.
Yeah.
Yeah. You guys, in 1990, I read, tell me if this is true, because I haven't seen the video, but you guys played at the Wall concert.
Yeah,
Was that just mind boggling or what?
totally. Yeah, yeah. That was an amazing experience from start to finish.
What was there a feel in the atmosphere? I mean, I can only imagine what that must have been like because it's such a profound moment in history, let alone music history. Could you feel that?
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, it wasn't just musical, aside from the incredible cast of players, musicians that were there, you had not Michael Caine, the other Albert Finney's hanging around backstage, Jerry Hall, Albert Finney hitting on Jerry Hall. That was a real moment. Um, and the production was insane.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
the way it happened was Roger came to see us when we played in London at a club called Town and Country, and
Roger Waters for people who aren't sure.
yes, Roger Waters formerly of Pink Floyd, and it's funny because when we recorded the latest version of All You Zombies, the version that everyone knows from Nervous Night, he showed up at our gig at Town and Country, and you know introduced himself to us. Hi, I'm Roger. I'm your fan. Like, okay, what do you do with that?
Wow. That is
Um,
so amazing.
and then so that would have been, I don't know, 87, 88, and then 2 years later, we were in Tokyo, and he called us at the hotel and said, can you be in Berlin in 5 days?
Hey, in 93, put out an album called Out of Body. There's a couple songs on there I love so much. 25 Hours a Day it's just this fun jam that's just so happy. I just love it so much. It kind of goes back to your earlier stuff, the way I hear it,
Hmm.
which I love. And then Private Emotion. Man, I love that song. And Ricky Martin covered it later.
He did. I
Yeah.
played everything on that track except for the drums, and I think I didn't play the bass, but everything else on that track is me.
And the silence falls between us as the shadows steal the light. And wherever you may find it, wherever it may lead, let your private emotion come to me.
Man, I love that song so much. And
And 25 hours a day is really a major part of our show still.
I live and breathe your love 25 hours a day. 25 hours a day. And when the spirit moves you, you come shining through. And there won't be nothing we can do. 25 hours a day.
I just love it. It's just so happy. It's just like
It's
you can't sit
really
still
happy.
listening to it. Yeah, man, I love that. Can we talk about you wrote One of Us for Joan Osborne, and was that a song that you purposely wrote for somebody else, or what? Tell me about that.
So in July of '93, we flew over to Sweden to do a festival up by the Arctic Circle, and my seatmate was a pretty young woman named Sarah, and we talked a lot and slept a little, and we landed, and I went up north, and she stayed in Stockholm, and we stayed in touch. And long story short, 6 months later, she moved over here to see what it was like living with me rather than transatlantic dating.
Yeah,
Um, and a week after she moved over here, we were Rob and Rick Chertoff and I were in incubator mode with Joan Osborne. We were writing and arranging the songs for her, the album we were going to record with her. I was working, she came in, Sarah came in, and I had one car, and she would drop me off at Rob's house where we were doing our work on his little 8-track um, cassette recorder, and pick me up at night, and we'd go home and have dinner. Well, one day I walked into Rob's, and I picked up his guitar, and I started playing. The next day I came in, and I said, you know, I can't remember how that riff went. You recorded it. He couldn't find the tape.
Oh,
At the end of the day, when Sarah had arrived to pick me up to take me over for dinner, he said, "Oh, I found the tape. I had mislabeled it as a mandolin riff." So he played me for riff. Oh yeah, that's how it goes. I was played it on the guitar, sat down at the piano and played it. Joan started like riffing, doing blues riffs around it, which is what she does. And we left, went home, had dinner, watched a video on the making of Sergeant Pepper,
mm,
which which is mostly George Martin sitting at the old EMI four channel console, because that's what they had then to record on, four tracks. It ended, and Sarah says to me, four track recording. What's that? Well, that's what's on the dining room table. It's a 4-track cassette recorder called a Porta Studio. Oh, record something for me, she said. So, okay, I've got this guitar riff. I had a keyboard instrument that had a sampler in it. I could make a drum pattern, and I could play a bass part on it and a keyboard part. I came up with a whole arrangement, you know. So I record 4 minutes of that and play it back for her. And I look at her like, yeah, who's the man now? And she just said, well, sing it. And by now it's like midnight.
yeah.
I'm like, well, you don't just sing it, you know. I mean, you need a chorus, and you need a title and a chorus and a concept, and then you write the verses. But then you realize the verses don't go with the chorus, so you change the chorus. And then after a couple of weeks, you realize you've kind of lost the plot, and you go back, and you know it takes a while, hon. You know, this isn't for the meek of, for the this isn't for the faint of heart.
Mhm.
In the meantime, she'd fallen asleep on the living room sofa, and I hear a voice in my head. You know the crash test dummies?
Mhm.
I heard
Mhm.
the voice of Brad Roberts going, "If God had a name." So I thought, okay, this is a sign. I hit record and I sang the song. It literally
Wow.
just came out,
Wow.
except for the last line in the chorus. Just a stranger on the bus. Da da da, because he must know, da, da, in the dust. And Sarah woke up and said, "Trying to get home. Trying to get, oh no, trying to make his way home." Thank you, hon. Go back to sleep now.
Wow. Mind blowing.
So the next day, I went in for our session, and you know, I knew I'd written. I had the same feeling I'd had with All You Zombies. I knew I'd written a special song, and I figured it was a special, weird song that my friends would like and think, "Wow, that's so Eric." Um, I played it for for Joan and Rick and Rob, and you know, this is again a bit of Rick Chertoff genius heroism. The last thing I expected was Rick to look up and say, "Joan, do you think you could sing that?" And she said something to the effect of, "I can sing the phone book. Yeah, write out the lyrics." So I wrote out the lyrics and showed her, ran her through the melodies, which are pretty easy. And we did a recording, just guitar and her vocal, directed to a DAT tape, digital audio tape.
Mhm.
And Rob ran off some cassette copies. I got in my car, popped in the cassette, I listened to it, and I started working on the Grammy speech that I didn't get to give.
Yeah, yeah, God is good. Yeah, 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 yeah. What if God was one of us? Just a slob like one of us. Just a stranger on the bus trying to make his way home.
I knew, we all knew when we heard her voice on that, it was like, it was so unexpected for her because she has that gravelly blues thing. That's really
Mhm.
what she does. That's her superpower. But I guess her superpower is also to sing it like a little girl, and you know, put all the wonder of the unknowable
Yeah.
into
Man, it's a beautiful song.
to ask him those questions. And then, Sarah and I have been married it'll be 30 years this August.
Wow, brother. Congratulations.
Yeah.
That's a great story.
It's a great story. Yep.
Yeah.
And it's still
Hey,
being written.
what's that?
It's still being written.
Yeah, it is. Isn't that great?
Yep.
And I was listening last night to Time Stand Still album,
Mhm.
and I'm Alive. I just love that tune. I looped it for 2 or 3 times and just really got into that.
Got no thorn in my side, got no secrets to hide. I'm completely and utterly amused. I'm alive, I'm alive. It's a beautiful day and I'm happy to say I'm alive, and wherever I go, it's amazing to know I'm alive.
But you guys covered Boys of Summer, which I was kind of surprised. Why?
So in 2005, maybe, or 6, Rob and I were asked to participate in it was a fundraiser for Music Cares in New York. It was an 80s theme. So Cyndi was on it, Patti Smythe was on it, us, and the moderator was Rob Thomas, who it turns out was a huge Hooters fan.
Yeah.
And we were supposed to do 2 of our hits and 1 song from 2 of our 80s hits and 1 song from the 80s that we wished we'd written.
Ah.
And that was a tough call for us. Because honestly, I'm more of a 60s and 70s guy. It occurred to us. You know what we did was we pulled up the Billboard Top 100 for each year in the 80s.
Yeah.
Another Brick in the Wall was on there, which we both kind of wish we'd written, but there's really no way to do that as the 2 of us. Rob playing accordion or piano and me playing mandolin or acoustic guitar. And then we hit upon Boys of Summer. Now, Boys of Summer is a feat of vocal gymnastics in the original key. The way Don Henley sings that vocal, nobody but except Sting could sing it like that in that key.
Yeah.
That arrangement is, so challenging, with the drum machine and those amazing guitars and amazing synths. But I heard a voice in my head again, and I will illustrate that for you. Let me put this guy back. So we knew that we had to, we knew that in order to do any cover song, especially a song like Boys of Summer, we needed to find a way to Hooterize it. So
Mm-hmm.
the Hooters.
Wow.
So, Rob chimed in on the piano, and it was like, yep, we did it that night, and it was amazing. It was, magical. You could hear a pin drop.
Yeah. Well, and the arrangement is so much different, which I appreciate. And sometimes it's a risk. But I realized that that's really a love song. And when Henley's version, I didn't really think of it as a love song. Yeah.
I'm driving by your house, though I know you're not home, but I can see you. Your brown skin shining in the sun. You got your hair combed back and your sunglasses on, baby. I can tell you my love for you will still be strong after the boys of summer have gone.
Lyrically, it was really the first time I really paid attention to the lyrics was when I was listening to your guys' arrangement.
Interesting. Well, so here's an interesting factoid. In an interview, someone asked Don Henley what his favorite cover of Boys of Summer was, and he said, without hesitating, The Hooters.
Really?
And when he does it now, he does it the way we do it.
Wow. What a compliment.
Not with a mandolin, but it's
right.
Similar.
The slower,
I think he was inspired by our.
It blew my mind. I just love it so much. I honestly, I like your arrangement better than the original.
Oh, well,
Yeah.
thanks. It is its own thing.
Yeah. The 5x5 EP you guys also covered, where you did your version of Time After Time and One of Us.
Mm-hmm.
You say, go slow. second-hand unwinds. If you're lost, you can look and you will find me. Time after time. If you fall, I will catch you. I'll be waiting. Time after time. If you're lost, you can look and you will find me.
And I like the way you interpret those, as the writers. It's just beautiful. Hey, you guys are going out on it was a 45th anniversary tour or something like
Yep.
that.
Yep,
When
45
does
alive.
that start? Yeah.
It sort of starts next Saturday night in Philadelphia. We're playing at the Met, which is a venue we've never played before. It's a 100-and-some-year-old theater that was renovated about 10 years ago, and it's a big room, and I think we're going to fill it.
Wow.
So that sort of starts it. Then June we go to Germany. In the middle of that, we are going to Athens, Greece, where we've never played. We didn't know we had an audience there, but someone thinks we do because they're paying us good enough money to fly us all down there and keep us there for a
Wow.
couple days.
Wow. Brother, I love talking to you. I've had the greatest time. I'm gone way over what I promised. I feel terrible, but man, I could talk to you all day.
Cool. Well, you know what? I had a 2-hour interview before this.
Oh man, now I feel really bad.
No, it's well, this is my interview day, and now I'm in the studio. I've got a friend staying here. He's a British rock star in a band that you've probably never heard of, but they're huge in England. They
Tell
tour
me.
stadiums and arenas.
Who?
They're called Busted.
No, I'm gonna write it
Right.
down. I'm gonna look them up. Hey, where do you want people to go to follow you guys and what you're doing and tour schedules? 'Cause we have viewers in all over Europe too.
Hootersmusic.com. Hooters Music on social media. At Eric Bazilian. If ericbazilian.com. I never update my website. I should. Social media, I'm on less these days.
Hey man, I love the new song too.
Thanks.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Yeah. Hey, when I'll keep an eye on what you're doing. If you have something new coming out or something you want to talk about, I'd love to do this
Cool.
again. Yeah.
Okay,
All
excellent.
right. Eric, man, I really appreciate you giving me some time.
My
Yeah.
pleasure. Well, it's good. It keeps me busy, and while I'm missing my family, but this keeps my mind occupied. So
Yeah. Well, good.
yeah,
Well, I hope we can do it again. I love talking to you. Thank you again so
cool.
much,
Likewise.
Eric.
You're a very nice man, and I hope we play in Boise so I can meet you someday.
Oh, I would love that. I'd love that. All right, my friend. You take
Yep.
care. I'll talk to you again soon. I'll send you an email.
Fantastic. Thanks.
All right.
Cheers. Bye-bye.
For questions or comments, email Steve at steveryan.songoftheday@gmail.com.